going on? Blossom is back. Welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of Blossom's Ultimate Upgrade Guide. Today we continue on our journey through the RQs to my opinions on RQ54, and today's artwork is brought to you by just classic cars, bro. Just classic cars. We got a Countach, we got a Miura, we got an E36 M3, a Nissan Silvia Nismo, Delta Integrale, some very beautiful cars. Now, before we get into RQ54, it has come to my attention that the Nissan Pulsar that I reviewed in RQ50, I have given the wrong recommendation. So I want to apologize for that. Shout out to JJ for sending me these times. As you can see, the 233 Pulsar still gets some wins, but the majority of the track sets fall on 323, and I like to go for majority. It doesn't matter if, like, you know, some tune might win like 2 or 3 track sets. I like to go for the majority of the time. If there's any outliers, I will always mention it. But yeah, the Pulsar came as a bit of a shock. I am surprised that it's better tuned 323 over 233. So I'm letting you guys know right now, if you watch my RQ50 video, that one was a mistake. Go 323 your Pulsar. Though, like I said, 233 still wins some races, but then it'll be, you know, you'll be winning the minority amount of races. So yeah, if anybody wants to shout out and point out any of my recommendations that you think is wrong, let me know down in the comments below, but give me some proof. Because if you're just going to say I'm wrong and you're not going to give me any proof or any source, I'm not going to listen to you. But if you give me proof, I will gladly admit it. So shout out to JJ, thank you for the times. Nissan Pulsar 323. I have to say though, I'm still shocked because my very own Nissan Pulsar is 233 or 699. So the more you know, the more you learn. Anyway, RQ54, let's get into it. 969, pretty fundamental stuff, right? We got some standard tires like the Caterham 7270, the Q45 Infinity F50. Why are there so many letters in some of the names? We have the BMW 540i, even more letters, numbers, you know what I mean. And of course the Mercedes-Benz S350. We also have some all-surface tire cars. I mean, that's what you always do with 969. We got some Mercedes-Benzes in here, some Land Rovers in here, and a Nissan Pathfinder. And I would say the only real surprise here is the Bentley Mulsanne extended wheelbase. Now, here's my philosophy going into the Bentley extended wheelbase. It's never going to be your first choice when it comes to city streets medium, and it has that top speed. So it's one of those rare occasions where I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to drag spec it because there are better Bentley options out there that have like a lower 0 to 60 but worse handling, so those are more drag spec Bentleys. But this isn't really a Bentley you want to discount on the drags and the testable either. So 323 is a bit of a good place to put it in. It's not going to win you anything, but when does Bentley ever win you anything? You kind of just lose by 50 at best case scenario. So the Bentley Mulsanne, if you 323 it, it's just going to lose at everything, but at least it will beat 233 versions when it comes to, like, you know, the drags, and it will beat like 332 versions when it comes to city streets. Like I said, like the Bentley at the end of the day is pretty hot garbage. I wouldn't touch it. That's a pretty strange one. I would say everything else I would like 100% say 969. The Bentley, I'm kind of on the fence between 969 and 996 and 699 at the same time. It's just that, you know, it's trying to be a bit of an all-rounder, but it's missing all the marks, kinda. It's like a B- car, like a C car. It gives me a headache, so I'm just gonna put it in 969. The Lancia Delta Integrale, 969 on that one. It's a very niche category, 80s Italian 4-wheel drive. I mean, there's barely any. It's literally just Lancia, so I will go 969 on that. Now, moving on to 699, I do own a lot of these cars, and I do have them 699. In terms of cars that I own in here that I have 699, it would be the 640D, BMW M3, Ford Sierra RS500, Lamborghini Countach, Lotus SX Turbo Esprit, Lotus Europa S, and that's it. I don't know the rest. I really want the Nissan though. So, you know, pretty fundamental stuff once again, right? Performance tires, they can handle. Some of them are medium, some of them are low, but they're all performance tires. One of the things that is like really huge when it came to 699 would be the Lamborghini Countach LP500S. You know, when I started playing Top Drives, we always 969. That's like one of the beginner mistakes, especially if you don't have a foundation like my channel to take tips from. So when I started playing, I would 969 everything, and then slowly I was like, oh, wait a minute, 699 is actually more beneficial. But we never knew where we drew the line, right? We I still don't. I mean, I kind of know where we draw the line now at ultra rare, but like I said, there might be cars like the Pulsar that would surprise you. So you know, it became like 969 everything, and then it became 699 just epics, and then we were like, okay, no, because some ultra rares win at 699 too, so maybe 699 all epics and 699 all higher end ultra rares. And then the Lamborghini Countach was a pioneer for me because this was the first kind of low RQ in quotation marks, because back then this was like what RQ, what was it back then for ultra rares? I can't remember anymore. 24, right? No, 24 was epic. 22 was the highest ultra rare, and the Lamborghini Countach I think was like RQ20. So it was on the lower end, the lower half of the ultra rare collection. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna specialize. I'm going to not specialize, but I'm going to experiment with the Countach and see if 233 is better for ultra rares, not only on the higher end but also on the lower end. So I 233 my Countach. You got an extra handling, it goes up to 88. The 323 goes to 87, and I tested it out. And the Countach does win majority of the track sets. Now this was a test that I did many years ago, but it still stays firm till today. And the Countach, you know, kind of opened my eyes to everything. So I was like, okay, so I shouldn't just 699 epics and upper echelon ultra rares. I should 699 epics and just ultra rares, because cars like the Lotus 135 was better 233, which kind of just made me draw the line at ultra rare. But like I said, there can be shockers like the Pulsar, so if there are any, send me the times. I will, you know, shout it out in the video. And then yeah, everything else is pretty fundamental. Basically just low ground clearance or medium ground clearance performance tire machines. Now next is going to be 996. Now once again, I realized I didn't say this at the start of the video. Some of these cars might have outdated RQs, like this is 53, but if you check it in the game right now, it is indeed 54. It's just that the pictures are outdated. So 996, this is where we get spicy. I can already feel the people disagreeing with me. The Infiniti Q60 and the Subaru Legacy B4 Blitzen. Why are both of them 996? Okay, first of all, the Infiniti Q60, yes, it has one of the lowest 0 to 60s for JPT ultra rares. And I know 5.1 isn't anything to be, you know, shocked by when you think about it. The Miura is literally 4.3. But when it comes to JPT cars, you need to remember what the JPT meta is like. When it comes to the JPT meta, everything has a pretty high 0 to 60. They're all medium ground clearance. They're all 4-wheel drive, and they all have MRA of like 50 and 60. So the Infiniti Q60 stands out because it has one of the best MRAs for an ultra rare JPT car, and it has one of the lowest 0 to 60s for an ultra rare JPT car. It just shows how far behind JPT is on the drag meta, when the Infiniti Q60 is one of the best cars that you have. I own this, and I do have it 996. I'll put a picture right here. Those are the stats. I haven't used it as much, but one day when there's a JPT drag event, you're gonna thank me for the Infiniti Q60. Then again, there's another Infiniti. I think it's like the RQ51 or 52. That one is a 233. It handles just about the same, and that's gonna be the twisty version. So this is gonna be your fast Infiniti, and the other one is gonna be your twisty Infiniti. The next one is gonna be the Subaru Legacy B4 Blitzen. Now, why is this 996? Now, this one is a bit of an outlier, because usually I say, even though if a car has decent MRA, don't 996 it if it has a low top speed. But like I said, the JPT drag meta is a whole new level of garbage. Really, this is really good because it has one of the best MRAs. I think it has the highest MRA for any 4-wheel drive medium ground clearance Subaru. If not the highest, the second highest, only behind I think the S203, whatever the blue one is called. But yeah, one of the joint highest MRAs for any 4-wheel drive medium ground clearance Subaru. So this is going to be like a very, very small niche. This is a drag Subaru. The Blitzen Estate is pretty good as well, as a higher top speed but a slightly lower MRA. The Blitzen over here, the B4 that is in the Estate, has the highest MRA. So it feels weird to say, but the car of 142 top speed is the drag Subaru of my choice. I have this stock right now, but I do plan to 996 it. This is a strange car to the Blitzen. I feel like if you went 699 dry spec it, it wouldn't be that bad either, because this is a car that handles pretty well. Or if you went 969 and wet spec it, that wouldn't be bad either. But at the end of the day, do you really want to get 3 Blitzens and max them all out? If you're a Subaru collector, maybe. But in my opinion, for just one, I would go 996 on the first just because of that drag Subaru meta. I know it's going to be very niche, but like I said, Subarus are a dime a dozen, okay? You can 323 a bunch of other ones if you want, but this one I think is best at drag spec. Next one is the Aston Martin V8 Vantage Volante. Once again, it's kind of like the Blitzen for Aston Martins. It has just a little higher MRA than most of its predecessors, and it has a high top speed this time, and a decently low 0 to 60. Now, moving on are the Bentley Arnages. Now, this is why I put the Mulsanne extended wheelbase in 969 and not 996, because like I said, these are better. They have worse handling, and I think they have a better 0 to 60, 5.2 to 5.3. Yes, very, very small changes, but it is slightly lower. And then last but two are the Lamborghini Miura SV and the TVR Griffin 400. Those two need no introduction. Those are outright dragsters. Now, last but not least, let's talk about duplicates. So, for duplicates, the Caterham 270 and the Lamborghini Miura SV, I would get duplicates of those two because they're amazing, right? The Caterham 7270 is a prize car winner. It has won me prize cars before. It has been one of the best cars in a Tri-Series final before. The Lamborghini Miura SV, once again, is a great Italian dragster and a great 70s dragster. So I'm putting those two just because you should get duplicates of them because they're good. And I'm putting the Infinity and Legacy at the bottom as duplicates because I know that I'm going to get a lot of backlash of putting it at 996. I think 996 is still the first option for both of these cars, but if you want to disagree and you think, oh, Blossom's gone mad, I'm going to 699 the Q60 and 969 the Legacy, that's why I put it under dupes. That's why I put it under dupes. Because like I said, the Subaru Legacy, you can still get some value out of it at 699 or 969 because it handles. It's not like it has like 77 handling or something like that. It handles pretty well, but I also want to make use of that MRA because it's better than all the other Subarus in the game. And then the Infinity, Ultra Rares. And then for the Infiniti Q60S, once again, it's a car that actually handles, you know? You can get 89 out of that. But the thing is, right, why would you want a twisty spec a Q60S? There are other Japanese ultra rares that does the job so much better, like the Honda NSX, or that's the only one I can think of on the top of my head. Oh, or like the Nissan Micra that we did in last episode. You know what I mean? So these are the duplicates that I would get. I would say that the best RQ54, though, without a doubt, hands down, is the Caterham 7270. So that's it. Let's get into the tier list. Alright, lads, and here we are back on my tier list for RQ54. By now, you guys know the ranks. It's priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, priority 4, and of course, garbage. So let's start with priority 1. Not a lot to go with here, just 3 cars this time. I was really lenient with 53, so not so lenient with 54. I got the Caterham 7270, the Lamborghini Miura SV, and the Ford Focus ST Mountain. Now, what's so special about the Mountain is that it's medium. It handles incredibly well. It's one of the best handling RQ54 cars, if not the best. It handles better than a Lotus Europa S, for crying out loud. So very great handling car, medium ground clearance, and it has that estate niche. Now moving on to priority 2, we got the Nissan Silvia Nismo, which is, you know, a better twisty car than the Infinity. We have the Infiniti Q60S right next to it. You see 4 handling difference. We have the BMW 640D. Now, why the 640D is in priority 2 is because it has the diesel niche. It is diesel. Most of every other car you see in here is going to be petrol, but the BMW 640D is indeed diesel. Lamborghini Countach LP500S, that thing has MRI and it has handling. It's a bit of an Italian hybrid, if you say so, but it has really good MRA, and the top speed isn't incredibly high, but it's above 155. And of course, the Lancia Delta Integrale 16V. Like I said, this is just a car, the Lancia, that falls into a lot of niches, right? It's a medium ground clearance, it's Italian, it's an 80s car, it's 4-wheel drive. It's just, I don't know, it feels like Italian 80s, or just 80s cars in general, is a pretty frequent requirement that we see in the game. And they like to put in rain, and they like to put in city streets medium, and you know, they like to make the Lancia Delta shine. So that's going to be a good one. The Evolution 2 is a 90s Lancia, so that isn't going to be a worry if you are going to be using this in an 80s event. Now in priority 3, I'm going for cars that are pretty decent, like some pretty decent all-surface tire cars, like the Land Rover Discovery P250. Some might even argue that this should be priority 2, but I'm going going to put it here. Why? It's because it's pretty lightweight, but it doesn't handle that well. That being said, though, the lightweight does help it out a lot. The biggest thing about the P250D is how light it weighs. And then we have the Pathfinder, which is like a polar opposite of the P250. It handles a lot better, but it's also a lot heavier. And then we have the Mercedes-Benz G500, sorry, not Q, and that is basically just a dragster. Like, that is an all-surface tire dragster that knows it's a dragster, and I respect that. The TBR Griffith 400 as well, I'm going to put in priority 3, just because it's a worse version of the Lamborghini Miura S. It has, you know, SV. It has a lower top speed and a slower 0 to 60. It handles a little better, but it doesn't really matter. 78 handling isn't going to help you much in a twisty event. You're not going to beat a Lotus 135 in a slalom or a twisty circuit or even a hairpin perhaps. But some other decent cars in here, a lot of them are kind of just in here for their niches, right? Like the Blitzen is a bit of a hybrid, but in like a good sense. We have the Mulsanne, which once again is not the worst Bentley in the world. It's not going to win you much, but it is a hybrid, and I wouldn't say that it's missing all the marks. It's not really hitting all the marks either. It's a very average car, and it's the same thing with the Ford Sierra. And once again, it has that 80s medium ground clearance niche. It handles well. The MRA is okay, and it's the same thing with the SX, and it's the same thing with the Europa S. So they're all going to be in the same tier. Moving down to priority 4 now, these are the cars that are pretty useless. That's going to be the Bentley Arnages. Now, they're not completely useless. They're not hot garbage. You will still find events that they might shine in, but not often, right? The Infiniti Q45, once again, rear-wheel drive standard tires isn't going to help you out too much. The Di Tommaso Pantera GTS, I would put it under hot garbage if it was low, but it's still medium, even though it shouldn't be. But because it's still medium, it's priority 4. BMW M3 is kind of like the same thing. It's very similar to the Pantera. It's like, it's there because like it's medium. If it wasn't for that, it would go down to low as well. We have the Quattroporte, and last but not least, we have the Mercedes-Benz. Now, the Quattroporte, some people might argue it has 5.379. It has better on-paper stats than some cars I may have ranked higher. The main reason why it's down so low is because it doesn't really carry any niches. Like, at least with the Q60S, it's new. It has that JPT niche, right? So 5.180, 5.379, I mean, this car's just better in every way, right? And then, you know, the Nissan, right? The Nissan, that's a 90s car, so it has that niche too. And then last but not least, in priority 4, is the Mercedes-Benz S350. That is four-wheel drive standard. The literal reason why it's four-wheel drive standard and medium ground clearance and has a really good MRA puts it in priority 4. Now you would think, oh, four-wheel drive standard, medium ground clearance, and good MRA, that's like a lot of positives. Why is it not higher? Well, the main reason about the Mercedes-Benz is it doesn't have 0 to 60. It is the slowest car here. I mean, it's almost at the Tahoe is faster. The Tahoe is faster. The Land Rover Discovery is faster. The Mercedes-Benz GLC is faster. There are SUVs faster than the Mercedes-Benz S350. It's a very, very slow car, and it doesn't handle. When you have four-wheel drive and standard tires, you need one more piece of the puzzle to make you a very, very strong machine, and that is handling, and it doesn't have that. 71 handling is abysmal. It has the lowest handling out of every four-wheel drive standard tire Ultra in the game, and because of that, I think only bar one, which is the DS7. So unfortunately, and the DS7 has a very low 0 to 60. The Mercedes-Benz doesn't. The only reason why it's in RQ54 is because of that MRA, but the MRA is overrating the car so much, I never use the Benz. And last but not least are the hot garbage collection. We have Tahoe. Look, I love the Chevrolet Tahoe Custom. Don't get me wrong, okay? It won me the Dodge Demon, and I will forever honor that. One of the best cars on the channel. But holy crap, are you garbage in the game? And once again, the Tahoe that won me the Demon isn't the Tahoe today. This thing got a heavy nerf, okay? It used to be on the upper echelon of Ultra SUVs, and now it's kind of at the bottom. It doesn't handle. It's very heavy. The 0 to 60 is relatively low, but it's not a dragster, right? It's the same thing for the Discovery. It's the same thing for the Mercedes-Benz. They just don't hit the mark anywhere. The BMW 540i is just, I mean, it's just hot garbage. It's just a slightly worse version of the Infiniti by 0.1 of a second. And then last but not least, the BMW 335i, probably one of the worst Ultras, period. For RQ54, you're telling me that this car only has 75 handling? That's ridiculous. You're telling me that the BMW 335i has worse handling than the Di Tommaso Pantera. Seriously. Really? That BMW handles worse than a Di Tommaso Pantera GTS, and they're both medium? Something's wrong here. I think that BMW should have better handling, and that Di Tommaso should also have better handling, but also be low. But whatever. What am I to say? Anyway, this is going to be my tier list for RQ54. Let me know down in the comments below if you found this helpful or not, and if you disagree or agree. Once again, it's my opinion, and this is how I would max out the cars. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.